I will quickly talk about the flow typing stuff. It's based on the work that Hugo is doing, because as the pipeline improved, we can do fancier things. I will be quick, and I hope there will be discussion, and I hope there will be some boos or woos, or we'll see. So for those who don't know Flow, so Flow adds static types to JavaScript. Then you can do type checking, obviously. And so many people use it for smarter auto-completion, because then you already know the type and you get errors if something's wrong. And the motivation to introduce flow types was, one thing is we have the chance to revisit our APIs. We, of course, can also do it without adding flow, but this is like a nice side effect, because then the APIs make it better. Because if you find out that the types you can pass in are super complex and it's hard to model in your type system, your API might not be that good. So we can fix those. And we can find bugs. That is also my experience with static typing. And the code might get simpler, because like often in JavaScript you need to check, like, so the basic example for IPFS is you put in a CID, and almost every function that takes a CID checks, is it a string, is it a buffer, or is it a CID class? But if you then change your API to just be able to take the CID type, you don't need those checks anymore, because the type checker will check it for you. If it's wrong, it will fail. So make the code simpler. And one person told me that he looked into the code and it was totally confusing, because it can take so many different things. If it would have types, it would be easy to understand. And the goals is that we change things as little as possible. So you just run Azure test and so on as you're used to it. The modules still need to be used outside of the Flow ecosystem. So it can be integrated into your Flow stuff, but of course, if you don't use Flow, it should just work. And one important thing is, as we have so many small modules and dependencies, the linking still needs to work, because you do update one dependency and you want to link to another one you're working on, still needs to work. And the challenges are, Flow files are ES6 modules. And as you all know, like Node, I think has ES6 modules, but not the older versions. So you need a build step. There's no way around it. That's a problem. And also that Flow resolve the same way as Node.js modules resolves. So it means that what Hugo was showing, if you have the main property in your package.json, it needs to point to a module that Node can run. But as Node can't run ES6 modules, it's a problem, because Flow also wants to run it, but it needs to be ES6 modules, which I have no clue how they came to this idea, because like that's difficult. So the solution normally is you have a copy of the same file with the .flow extension, and then it works. But I think it's super ugly, but yeah. So the outcome of it is, what we've spent the past 2 days on is, the way we do it now is you can change the code and run the tests without a build step. It's just in the source directory. So this is the part where the woohoo comes. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But what we still have, I said you need a build step, is we have a dist folder which contains the module we will publish on npm, and because then it will basically transpile to non-ES6 modules and the script bundle. And if you link it, and this is also something we can't prevent, is you need to have a watcher on your repository, because if you require something, you require it from the dist directory. That's a smaller thing, but well, that's so basically, so you link the module, run the watcher, and then if you edit the source files, it will show up. I'm actually not that quick as I wanted to be, so I need to be faster. So things need to be, a to-do list is better integration with Azure and the documentation, so people can just say, read this and say, okay, I want to port my module to Flow, this is what you need to do, and then it works, and you're good. And one open question we have is, should we only publish the dist directory, or should we publish the whole module on npm? But yeah, that's all. So if there's any questions, I don't know how much time we have. Yeah.
So if I'm working on a change that requires me touching 10 modules,
yes.
Do I need to run a watcher for every single one of them?
Yes, but of course we could improve the tutor and say, like, we have basically a global watcher that watches all the modules that are linked, kind of. Okay. But like it's not be deep, it's because like you basically, we would need 10 terminal windows.
What?
you need, so to be honest, basically you go into the module and type in npm link. Yeah. And then right afterwards you type in Azure Watch. You open the next terminal, go into it, do an npm link. That's how you would do it.
So now I need to, like, basically what you are forcing the concept of workspaces, because if I have a module that is required by 5 other modules, and then those 5 other modules are required by other 10 modules, I have like this very complex tree.
Yeah.
And I need to spawn a watcher in all of them, and I need to make sure that like everything is npm linked everywhere.
Yeah.
So that like if I change multi-hash, I have to go into all the other things, like multi-hash is a dependency.
Yeah.
And build to a multi-hash, and then go to other things that like have all these other things.
Yeah.
So like it's essentially a workspace. You start having local modules for the IPFS dependencies.
Well, I guess if you have a change that changes so many things, you need to think about if you're doing something wrong, I guess. That's one question. But even if you, no, like, that's like, but I guess the problem is that, yeah. No, but as I said, you could implement a global watch, which just basically watches all, like, it checks if it's a symlink or there must be a better way. Like, there's probably a way to find out if it's linked or not. And then it just goes through all your dependency trees and watches all the projects. That's not a big deal.
Yeah. Go ahead. Then you and then Victor.
Why is the build required for the other modules? Don't you lose the type safety if the projects are requiring the non-typed version? So if we have multi-hash and it's typed,
yes,
and then you build it and now it's untyped, right?
Yes.
And now I have in JS IPFS, I'm requiring that module should be typed, right?
Well, if you
Otherwise I'm losing that.
No, like if you're requiring it, you lose it, but if you import it, you don't. That's the point between ES6 modules and require. Like no.
Like what is the watching for? Because you're running flow in JS IPFS, you should be able to import that module without having to watch it, without having to build it, because it's flow, right?
Yeah, if all of them are flow, yeah.
Yes, if basically the thing you work on your dependency are both flow, then you don't need to watch. So it's basically to the watching is for the whole require thing. Basically, so it works with So one point was also basically have a smooth transition between flow and the old stuff, so you don't need to change all modules to flow at one point. But if everything is flow, that's not an issue anymore.
What about like other users of our modules? Like if someone is using multi-hash and they are not our project, they are just using multi-hash as a dependency, will they use this version?
Yes, they will use this version.
Okay. And so if there is
Should this become a discussion? He's getting grilled on stage.
Yeah. Well, that's the.
it's good.
You mentioned we will be able to avoid like having to check the types, but I don't think we will, right? If we have the IPFS get method and it can accept a string, buffer, or a CID, that works for the module that is using flow. But for users who are not using flow, we still need to add those checks because they are not going to be compiled in, right? Because it's not runtime, it's just built up.
Yes.
So we don't get rid of that, even if we're using flow.
Yes, yeah. But for example, the question is, for example, we could then say that the lower level modules, for example, just accept the CID as a class, and the upper level modules support passing in as string, buffer, whatever. This is what I meant with simplifying the APIs, because I think it totally makes sense, like that you basically need to convert it beforehand. Because like many of those modules have like you can use them independently, and you can still do. But then you basically, if you pass in, you need to convert it yourself to a CID, for example.
Do you have a proposal?
Yeah.
Like we are really trying to
Yeah, we need to,
let's grab like a stack of paper and a lot of pens, and like the people that are really interested on this topic, because I see there's many and a lot of experience here. Let's like just write out the questions, answer them through lunch, and then have another session that like we just present the questions, the concerns that people had, and how this proposal answers them.
Yeah.
And so that like everything gets answered.
I propose something different. That we do that in GitHub rather than pen and paper.
Okay, like I was just trying to get a closing today.
I don't think we will be able to also.
Okay, so let's try to do both. Like discuss over lunch. If you feel that you have something to report back, then we will report back. If not, we'll follow up through that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plan B, plan C. All right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Yeah.